Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Looking for Love in All the Wrong Dust Jackets, a show where three cool ladies talk to you about everything in romance, whether that's books, movies, TV shows, whatever we're feeling. I'm Liz.
I'm Danny.
I'm Wiggles.
And welcome to the episode. Today, we are talking about Shape of Water, the movie that came out a couple years ago, won some Oscars, directed by Guillermo del Toro. But before all of this, I got to do the usual warning. We are sassy. We are crassy.
We are gassy. A little bit.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. So if you don't like swearing or talking about anything that you might envision happens in romance, then here's your warning. You've been warned. You
have been warned. We love you. We'd love to have you listen, but if it's not for you, we understand.
Yep.
Okay, so before we get into the movie, what have you guys been like reading and watching and doing and stuff?
I had a Letterkenny week.
Oh, did you finally watch the last season?
No, I started it over.
Sometimes you gotta.
I was in a foul mood and apparently deciding that I needed to watch Letterkenny and ignore the world a little bit and play shooter games.
Nice. I've been playing Baldur's Gate. Ow, ow.
Have you had sex with anybody yet?
No, and I'm really pissed about it. I had so many offers. Everyone was on the table. They were like, yes. And I chose Gail, and Gail was like, I'm sensitive. I can't sleep with you right now. And I was like, you kidding me, bitch? So yeah, Lae'zel was like ready to go down. Shadowheart ready to go down. Astarion ready to go down. Fucking Will ready to go down. And you know what? I chose the one character who was like, I like this, but also no. And I was like, why? You didn't do this in early access. God damn it. So
Cock-blocked in a video game.
yeah, seriously. No warning. He was all into it. He's the character that like his like your character bar is the highest. I was like, this should have been a slam dunk. And instead it was a whiff.
Oh man.
So that's what I've been doing. Striking out even in a fucking video game.
You took your shot and hit the rim, but bounced right back.
Yeah.
But nobody was hitting your rim, so.
Oh, God.
You nasty.
Liz.
But you are correct.
Oh, Lord.
What have you been doing?
I was reading The Mistake and The Score by Elle Kennedy, which is the second and third book in the Off-Campus series. It's a hockey college romance. They're just fun. I like them because like I can just be like, you know what? I want something that I know exactly what I'm going to get. I'm going to get some humor. I'm going to get some cutes. I'm going to get a little bit of spice. And you just like go right to it.
Nice. So today we're talking about The Shape of Water. Liz, do you want to tell us what this movie is about?
Yeah, the title is just Shape of Water, right? There's no article in the beginning. It's not The Shape of Water or A Shape of Water.
Shape of Water. Maybe I'm wrong. Now I got to look at the poster and be like, have I been living a lie?
I think we've all been living a lie because I thought it was The Shape of Water too.
Shape of Water, checking. It is The Shape of Water. Came out in 2017.
Gotcha.
It's actually been a minute.
It
I was
has.
going to say, I thought it was much newer than that.
Everything got weird in COVID time.
Yeah. I mean,
COVID time doesn't make sense or exist.
Mm-hmm. It was both the shortest amount of time and the longest amount of time.
Yes.
I, who very much am completely fine with being in my apartment alone, got to the point where I was like, I'm going to wear a tiara to take the trash out.
I think COVID time is the dot on the Jeremy Bearimy.
Yes.
It is the dot on the Jeremy Bearimy.
Yeah.
That's a Good Place reference, if you don't know what the hell I just said there.
Yeah.
Okay, but this movie, The Shape of Water, is a monster romance, I guess, weirdly enough, that's set in the 40s?
I think it's after the war. So late 40s, early 50s, yeah. I would say.
And our main character, who is mute, which is an important thing throughout the movie, works at some sort of like science facility, like top secret shit as a custodian. And she discovers or is there when they bring in this new crazy creature they found, which is very like Black Lagoon merman-esque guy. And she, on her breaks, sneaks in to interact with him, and they slowly like learn to communicate and learn to enjoy each other's company. And then she gets her friends and breaks him out and keeps him in her bathtub for a couple days before she sends him off to the ocean.
Well, and in between, she bangs him.
Oh yeah, she does.
She gets it.
She does.
She does get it.
Yeah.
And there's a real dickhead, some sort of agent guy who's there to just fuck it all up.
Yeah, his entire purpose is to be an asshole.
He creeped me out so much during this.
That's because he's a fucking great actor.
He was, I mean, yes, the actor did phenomenal. But yeah, there was so much of him that I was just like, ooh, you, sir. Also, he really wanted to bang her.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
that was a creepy fucking
In a
part.
very creepy fucking way.
Well, and like, I got that kind of from the beginning because he goes home and fucks his wife and he like doesn't want her to make a noise.
Yeah.
Ew. Oh, sir. Because at first I was like, oh, his wife's so pretty, you know, like.
Well, we'll talk about it real quick. First, I'm going to give you a little bit of information about the movie. For the record, the actor we were just talking about was Michael Shannon. I didn't say it because for some reason my brain was like, Michael Sheehan? And I was like, that is incorrect. That is incorrect. So I had to go back to the IMDb and be like, no, this is who we're talking about. Okay, so a couple of fun factaroonies. Liz was right on the mark with the creature from the Black Lagoon kind of thing. That was Guillermo del Toro's inspiration for some of this. He also was quoted as saying he wanted it to kind of be the anti-Beauty and the Beast rather than the Beast transforming into a beautiful man, whatever, that you just accept the Beast as he is kind of thing.
Mm.
And another really interesting thing is that a lot of the parts that were written in the script were written for specific actors. Octavia Spencer was like the part that she had was written and tailored to her. The lead played by Sally Hawkins, that was actually he confronted her at a party that they both happened to be at when he was already, and I quote, 14 tequila shots in, and said, God, I want to put you in a movie with a fish. So and apparently she was receptive. And actually the role of the Giles, the friend neighbor person, was originally supposed to be Sir Ian McKellen, but his schedule wouldn't work. But it was actually written with him in mind. I think that Richard Jenkins did a really awesome job.
Oh, I think he did phenomenally.
He was very endearing and believable, and and then of course there's Doug Jones, who plays our monster, who you've seen in probably a million things you just don't realize. A couple of notable ones from my perspective is, of course, Billy Butcherson from Hocus Pocus. He is monsters in almost all of Guillermo del Toro's movies. Crimson Peak, he's one of the like dead wives in, what is that one called?
Pan's Labyrinth?
Yes, that is the one I was thinking of. We're here. Yep. He plays a couple of the monsters in that one. Mm-hmm. But he's also, if you're a Buffy fan, he is one of the Silents. Mm-hmm. What is that other one? You know what? Look him up. You've seen him. I'm not going to keep going.
The one that pops into my mind is Hellboy. He is Abe in Hellboy.
Yep. Yes, he is.
Playing a very similar creature.
Yes.
So yeah, he's in everything, and nobody touts him, even though he's probably been in more movies than the majority of the big movie stars that you've heard of.
Mm-hmm. They always say that he's the most well-known actor that you will never recognize,
right?
Because he's everywhere. He's always the like extreme monster makeup actor.
Well, I watched a segment once on YouTube with another gentleman, I think his name is Alex something, who's closer to our age, but is a big creature actor. He was in some of the American Horror Stories and stuff like that. I was watching him kind of like try to teach other actors like the difference between like creature acting and like how to move your body and like how to like lead with different parts of your body and stuff. Like it is a completely different game.
Oh yeah, it's a
doing that
whole
stuff.
new animal.
Well, and the amount of work that they have to go through just to do their job, it takes him, for this movie, 3 hours to get into costume.
And then you're doing shoots for another 8+ hours.
Right. Right. Because if they're going to go through that much to get you into costume, you're going to keep working as much as you can in that costume.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that when you look at his career and you look at how he's able to emote through all of that.
Oh yeah, because every
Give
single
this
one
man
of
an
those
honorary
creatures is
Oscar
always
if
really.
you don't want to give him one
Right.
for one of his parts.
Yeah.
Because he's done amazing things.
Those creatures are always so responsive and like you can see emotion through them, which is hard to do when you have 20 pounds of movie makeup on.
Well, that kind of brings up a point, and I know we're talking about not the plot yet, but of all of the Oscars that this movie was nominated for and won, he was not at all a part of that.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, I don't care how amazing the actors are that are playing against him. If he can't give them something to play off of, then they can't do their job.
Right.
At the very least, that deserves a supporting actor award.
Actually, Giles got at least nominated for the supporting actor.
I would agree with that. I think he did really well. For how little of him that we get to see that isn't wrapped up in trying to help his friend with all of this, like you get a lot of nuance of what's going on in the background.
Right.
And I think it's really interesting the factor of him, you know, still trying to produce this, what is now a dead art, not dead, but pretty well dead art, and them completely throwing him under the bus on it. Those painted advertisements used to be the way you advertised. And then all of a sudden they're like, no, we want pictures instead, you know? And so there's even just that was a really interesting component to his character.
Absolutely. And his art was beautiful. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, since we were just talking about Giles, let's talk about him.
Yeah.
I was confused. Is he her neighbor? Is he her like roommate?
It took me a while to figure that out until like the very end of the movie when he has to rush into the hallway and then into her apartment because she's flooding her apartment so that she can have naked water sex.
I guess I didn't understand if they lived together or not because he was always just so close and they were, and so I was like, is he her dad? Is he?
I thought at first that she was working for him, that she was like his house cleaner.
Yeah. The beginning of that just puts you already into their world and doesn't really establish much of that. And so I definitely had that moment of like, are they related? Are they...
I was trying to figure out if he was like her dad or her uncle, or are they just friends, or what is their relationship here? Because I like their relationship. It's cute. It's sweet. You know, they're protective of each other, helpful to each other and everything. But like, what is this? Because it's not girlfriend. I already know that.
Right.
But what?
I think it was just they lived across the hall from each other.
Yeah, I think they lived across the hall from each other and both were sort of outcasts. And so they
kind of lonely people.
Yes. Yeah. That entire opening sequence was an interesting...
Indeed.
way to get there. I mean, I do like that they give you like a little preview of what the ending is going to turn out to be with her like dreaming that her entire apartment is filled with water, right? And so you're kind of like, oh, okay. But then like her morning routine, you're like, okay. And then you're like, oh, okay. Because all of a sudden in a movie that seemingly is not all about sex, you see this woman going to town on herself in a bathtub. And I was just like, oh, all right. Okay.
And no shame. Go to town on yourself in a bathtub if you want. But it was just, it kind of came out of left field all of a sudden. And you're like, oh, that's aggressive.
Yes. Well, and it's interesting because it's just something that's not done in movies.
Show a woman masturbating.
Really even showing anyone masturbating, when you do have a man who's masturbating, you like are over his shoulder. You know what I mean? Like, and you're not seeing what's happening. Right?
I mean, technically you didn't see what happened either, because all of her downstairs business was hidden by the bathtub.
Right.
Correct. But
it's usually not
so
it's
forward.
not from that angle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's usually not that abrupt.
I'm like, all right, well, get it, girl.
Yeah.
Do your thing.
Which is so funny because that was more graphic than the actual sex scene.
Right.
Yes, it
The
very
sex
much
scene-
was.
The sex scene was fade to black.
Oh, yeah.
Except for the fact that I think this might be the first time in a movie that wasn't made in the 80s that I've seen full bush. I was just like, oh.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
that was not a thing in the 40s and 50s to be shaved down like that.
No, I just mean like actually showing the front.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like butts. Yes, lots of butts. Sometimes some boobies, but mostly butts.
Yeah.
Right?
Lots of butts.
Rarely are we looking at the vagina.
At the vagine.
Yes. I don't know. She's thick. She's got thick hair.
Do you know what's funny about that is they would have to have had that discussion with her.
Yeah.
Of like, so we're going to film this. So you need to not groom downstairs
Or-
for a certain amount of time.
It looks like they two paid that bitch.
Oh,
wasn't
no, you
looking
think
that
there was
closely.
a rug?
It looked honestly. Like, I don't know.
That's worse.
That's what, I spoke, you put on like the thong that sort of matches your skin tone and put a toupee on, attach it to the fucking,
To the clam?
yeah. Well, to that part of the underpants. That's what it looked like to me.
I think she just grew it.
I mean, if that's her full bush, good for her. God damn, mine would never get that thick. It just, there were no gaps of any kind. It was like a rug.
Maybe they
You-
fluffed it.
Maybe.
You gotta go there.
paid way more attention to the bush than I.
Yeah, I was not looking that hard.
I wasn't trying to look that hard, but I got distracted. I was like, oh, god damn. That's
I
like you have a human child coming out of you right now with a full head of hair.
I will say, when it got to that point, I had been playing a video game. I know I'm naughty. I was playing a video game on my computer while watching the movie, and I had like looked down for a second and then looked up, and it was like, oh, boobies.
She got nice boobies.
She does have nice boobies. I should have expected it given the opening, but didn't. I kind of, because it was still not like nudity at that point, like it was graphic certainly, but it wasn't nudity when they did that beginning thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, oh, titties.
Well, and that beginning scene is also shot a little bit further away. It's as if like the camera is in the doorway of the bathroom and she's in the bathtub.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, okay, and I got a little bone to pick here, and I think this is a bone to pick with Hollywood. I don't think this is an issue with the movie production itself. I don't think they had a choice. But like, if you're gonna show me full bush, you better show me that fucking monster dick. I'm not saying I really was like I needed to see it, but I expect equal treatment. Period.
I agree with you.
I mean,
I
same.
agree.
I wanted to see what happens when the hand opens up and the dick comes out. What is that? Show it to me. You don't get to just reference it. No. You show me that swamp monster dick.
Her explaining that to her friend because she's mute, so she speaks in sign language.
Right.
And her showing that to her friend was the highlight of me watching this movie.
Yes.
It cracked me up. I just loved her, like, her little smirk and Octavia Spencer's character being like, what are you
Zelda.
smiling about? Zelda. Yes, thank you. Sorry.
No, you're
Names
fine.
are horrible for me. They immediately go away the second I'm done watching
That's
it.
why I
I
have them
have
pulled up
IMDb
on my
open.
phone.
Yeah.
Yes.
The way she's like, what are you smirking about? And she just kind of smiles and she's like, how? Why?
Listen, the girls who get it, and the girls who don't. That's all there is to
If
it.
I was in Eliza's situation, I would have also experimented.
You would have fucked that man?
I mean, yeah.
that
yeah.
merman?
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
No?
Why not?
I'm not surprised. I, on the other hand, would have been like, when I touch you, your skin glows. I've seen enough Animal Planet to know that you don't want to touch the frog. That looks pretty.
This is why Liz sits on one, or Wiggle sits on one side of the room and Liz and I are on the other. It is not the reason why, but just saying. Liz and I are fully monster romance.
You know, like, there's a lot of things in life, and some experiences only happen or come at you once, and you gotta just go for it.
Yep.
Okay, Liz, okay. Let me hit you with this. What if the amphibian has superhuman jizz and now you're cranking out a bunch of little frog babies?
Are they the size of tadpoles?
You don't
'Cause,
know.
like,
You don't know what you're getting into because you can't even speak to him. This is the problem. This is the ultimate problem, is that you don't know what that dick could, you don't know what that thing do.
I want to find out.
Show me what that thing do.
What if it's barbed like a cat?
Listen, I read enough books to know that works still.
Ducks also have barbs.
I'm just saying I'm more cautious than anything else. I'm concerned. What if it smells bad? What if it's got like little squiggly tentacles and those tentacles?
It does have
What
little
if it
squiggly
does
tentacles.
have little squiggly tentacles?
I'm just saying there's a lot to consider, and if I can't have a conversation with you like that is what that thing do, I'm not gonna go spelunking to find out.
Oh no. I would the part that would have gotten me, as far as that would have caused me pause, is there wasn't anything up to the sex when they were like being all romantic together that convinced me that he had like a human level of intelligence. And so that definitely would have caused me a lot of pause.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't then, but if it was very clear that, oh, you're also like as intelligent or, you know, close to it, we just can't communicate because we don't speak the same language, then all right, I can get into that.
Well, I think they kind of tried to show us, because he does try to learn her language early on with the egg. He crosses
Sure.
his fingers the way she did. That, like, I could see how you could interpret that as him just mimicking her versus him actually trying to understand her. I could see both ways on that.
Yeah, I use signs with my cats. Like if they're on the counter and I point like 2 fingers down, they will jump down. You know what I mean? I mean, they don't repeat it back because they don't have fingers.
Right.
But they get it.
All of a sudden they like put their 2 paws together and they're like, no, you down.
You go down. You know,
Hey,
or like
if Ruby could, she would.
or like gorillas and certain apes sign. So
It's true. That's true. Well, just because he walks on 2 legs does not make him a humanoid,
no.
Yeah, no.
you know? But I think, like, of course, it depends on your interpretation of the ending, but it seems to me that also falls in line with the interpretation that she is of the same species and that that's why they're like able to kind of communicate. I guess, okay, I'm going to spoil the ending, so get out of here if you haven't watched it. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Go away. Okay, so in the end, you know, she gets shot, and throughout the entire movie, we like see these scratches on her neck, and it's believed that whatever caused the scratches is what eventually ended up messing up her larynx, I think. And either way, that's part of why she can't talk. And our monster guy, picks her up and takes her into the water, and then does a little flourish in front of her body and like opens up her gills, and suddenly she can breathe and she's alive again. And she's found as a child by the side of a river, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's moments where like we can see her like being manipulative with water and things like that, but it could also be interpreted like a kid who's playing in the wind and acting like them. They're blowing the leaves around, right? But she's not actually that childish. People just interpret her as childish in the fact that she comes across as sweet and innocent simply because she's not speaking.
Right.
Yeah.
Because she's also the same girl who told him in sign language over and over again to fuck off. Right? So I don't interpret that as her just being full of whimsy and childish. I interpret that as her having these powers but not really realizing that she does.
I struggle with that ending. And in general, I struggle with endings that are not definitive, but that's just me. Because immediately, the first time I saw these scars on her necks, I was like, oh, those are Gil's. Because they look exactly like it. And
right.
Yeah.
The placement
And exactly
is so
and exactly
even.
where his are too.
Yep.
people can, and it still happens, are born with Gil's.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So I struggled with that because, like, to me, it wasn't a definitive, like, oh, she is kind of similar to him. It was more like maybe she was born with Gills, like some people are, and her voice box never developed correctly, or they screwed up her voice box when they sewed her gills or took out her gills or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I was. I didn't like the ending.
I'm sorry.
I spent a lot of time going, huh?
You confessed to playing a video game during the movie.
No, I was paying attention.
Uh-huh.
I was paying attention.
To
I
be
can
fair,
shoot
depending-
zombies and pay attention at the same time.
How?
How?
How do you see two screens at the same time and not get a headache?
I have ADHD and multitask very well.
You send one eye up here and one eye down here, and you're like, all right, I got this. And it's like having a split screen.
Well, that'd be cool if you could do that, though.
Wouldn't that be fucking amazing?
That'd be fucking sick.
God damn.
Okay. In my defense, that is how I live my world. Like when I'm playing video games, I also have a movie on constantly. That's how I function. I can't sit still long enough to just watch it.
I can
How do you
have
read a book then?
an audio and a
Very
visual,
difficultly.
but I cannot have two audios. If I have two audios that are conflicting with each other, I lose my goddamn shit.
Yeah.
See, and I didn't have the audio on the video game on.
How do you play the video game then? You don't know if something's coming at you. The
It's surprise
sound
zombies.
in the video games are so integral, whatever, to the activity and action you're doing. You're playing Skyrim, you hear the big like noises, and then you're like, oh shit, where's the dragon? Where's the dragon? Where's the dragon?
I was playing 7 Days to Die, and that is true that most of the time a thing is a good indicator that a zombie is coming. But yeah, no, that is how I do most everything. Is I can't function if I can't just sit there and watch it. And as far as reading a book, yes, there usually is some sort of like YouTube video playing in the background or.
Liz looks like she's about to
Oh
have
my
a conniption.
She's about to lose her shit
that's
on me.
not how it works.
I can't have silence. It can't be a thing.
Oh, I can totally understand if it was like music in the
No,
background.
music distracts me.
Or
What about,
something
lyricless music?
yeah.
No, music distracts me.
So like you couldn't have like the Lord of the Rings soundtrack playing in the background.
But you can have people talking in
Right.
the background.
Yes.
Yo, when Pabby tries to talk to me when we're watching something, even if it's a cooking show and you don't really need to like pay attention the whole time, I have to pause it. One audio is coming from the TV and one is from your face, and it doesn't work.
I also sometimes watch TV and watch TikTok at the same time.
I mean, I do, but then I'm just not paying attention to the TV.
Right. If I do that, it's like, oh well.
You said doo-doo.
We've never made a doo-doo joke in this entire podcast.
No, I think you did the last time I said doo doo.
Like, I feel like I did.
Of course it's you.
I don't even know what the fuck I was going to say anymore. We're getting back to this movie.
Okay. So, talking about their growing relationship and their interactions and stuff, the one thing that I could not stand, and it was her fucking fantasy, was that like song and dance scene.
Why did that bother you?
It was so cringy. It was the cringiest fucking thing. I was like, for me, this is terrible. I just watched it and I was like, no. And I get that they built it up because they showed a lot of Eliza and Giles watching those types of shows that were really popular back then, like the big, song and dance numbers and stuff, and talking about actors and actresses doing that. But they got to the musical number and I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. This is awful.
I didn't hate that.
I hated it.
I didn't hate it just because it didn't feel disconnected from the character. It felt like this is what's been going on in her head this whole time. And because the only people who even remotely understand her are the people who understand sign language as she's using it, because it is modified a little bit.
Well, when was ASL? Because ASL isn't old.
No, it's not. It's different, and some of it has evolved. Like, I'm not an expert in ASL, but I know enough to know that I was like, oh, that's a little different than what I know.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless, even if everyone at that company, let's say they all spoke ASL and she spoke ASL, right? I keep saying spoke, sign, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
No one really understood her. Like, even Zelda was surprised that she was trying to break this monster out of the fucking thing. And so I think she's got this very, very elaborate life in her mind, because there's certain things that she struggles to express. And she's got a few people who are close to her who get a lot of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So to me, I get why you would say it's cringy, but it didn't really bother me, because it felt like this like burst of, I'm trying to share with you this really big thing, but you're not going to get it. And so her attempting to sing at the end, like hearing that really like can't get the sound out thing, I thought that was all really touching, actually, because it was just raw emotion coming through in the best way she would understand it.
I think the other reason I didn't like it, besides just like not enjoying the scene at all, is it made me feel like her fantasy and reality were so different that her relationship with this creature was more in her head than reality.
I think that's what it's there for.
Well, then I didn't like it. Because that's not the story I wanted.
I think it's there to further cast doubt on whether or not the relationship between them is genuine. Plus, the other thing you have to keep in mind is, while Elisa might be the main character, she's not the narrator of the story. That's Giles.
Yeah.
And so also, this is his interpretation of everything that took place. And so there's also that element of, did she really do this, or is that his interpretation as somebody who loves these old Hollywood musicals?
Which, yeah, there is something to say for that. Also, she really end up being with him at the end?
Right.
Or is she dead?
Or is she dead?
Or is she just dead at the bottom of the river?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he wouldn't know at that point.
And so throughout this entire storytelling, you have to assume that there's an unreliable narrator telling you the story. And so I think that anytime you get into these really like big fantastical moments, you have to ask yourself the question of, is this really how this happened, really how this character felt, or is it how Giles is telling you the story?
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't have been there for any of the things that happen in the facility.
See, and I think that just comes back to, again, I don't like when things don't have like a definitive ending. And I'm not saying every loose end has to be wrapped up, but like the main plot has a definitive ending or a definitive conclusion. Because unreliable narrators I find very fascinating. I mean, Elizabeth Bennet is the most famous unreliable narrator.
Right.
And it's a great book. It's a great story. And the fact that she is an unreliable narrator makes it better, because at the end it wraps up and you learn, oh, she was wrong most of the time.
Practically everything.
Yeah. But because this movie doesn't have that, like, let's wrap it up, put a bow on it, I'm just unsatisfied.
I don't mind this ending, partially because my imagination loves to run around and fill in those gaps for me. And that's just the way my brain works. So,
Mine did to a degree too.
Yeah. So I go back and then I find things that support what I think the ending is or should be, which goes back to, does she really have powers of manipulation? Is she imagining she does? Or is all of this just Giles trying to justify that he thinks that hopefully the monster saved her? All things can be true at the same time.
What do you think happened at the end? I think she's dead.
But
okay. I'm not like strongly convinced of it, but that ending just felt too, with everything being as dramatic and dark as it was, to have the like, and she lived happily ever after with her monster boy.
He does admit that he doesn't know for sure what happened to her. I kind of think she's also dead.
So having watched another movie where Guillermo del Toro has done this in Pan's Labyrinth, right? We don't know is when she goes to the throne room at the end. Sorry, I'm spoiling it. If you haven't watched that, come back in 30 seconds and I'll be done.
I haven't watched it, but I'm probably never going to. So go ahead, spoil
Well,
away.
and this explanation won't make any sense.
No.
Because there's no chance of you watching it in like the next couple weeks, and it's gonna completely fall out of your head.
I'm gonna walk out this door when we're done and
Yeah,
I'm gone.
that's why I know I'm risking nothing here. This character, she's shot, and we think once again, which is a parallel, like both times this character gets shot, and then she goes into this dream world that she's been going to, kind of like Coraline. Like she's going to an entirely different world over and over and over again. The question is she dreaming? Did she make it up? Is this just a little kid's fantasy, or is this reality? And she is this long lost princess from this crazy underworld kingdom, right? And this is a very similar ending. Is she dead and Giles is just imagining this happy ending for her, or did she really survive and go off to live this like magical life, right? In both scenarios, the practical reaction is to assume that she's actually dead.
Yeah.
And that wishful thinking does not make a happy ending, but that it's easier and more powerful to believe in a happy ending because otherwise the world is just shit. And so given the fact that he has that theme twice, I think she's probably dead. But I would like to believe Giles' version of events.
And I think that's his hopeful thinking, because the monster did have powers for healing. It showed that he had healed the marks that he had made on Giles by accident, I will say. But she got shot like right in the chest.
And she was dead before he did anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Like she was done. And so it is my assumption that she is in fact dead.
I think the other reason I don't believe she's alive is because we don't see Giles after she's taken into the water. So we don't know where he's telling the story. Is he telling this to the police shortly after? Is he telling this just vaguely to this audience? Is this him thinking through the events that have transpired? We don't know. So we have no context of where the story or how the story is being told, just that Giles is telling it. And so if he really has these healing powers, we don't get that confirmed because we only see Giles in the context of his story.
Yeah.
Well, and there's the other argument too that like if he had healed her, why wouldn't they go back up to the surface to show Giles that she was fine?
Well, probably for the sake of escaping.
Yeah, because the police were still up there.
Right. So if they resurface, what's to stop them from shooting both of them?
I mean, you could make that argument, but even to just surface for a moment.
Right. Or if, like I said, if this is Giles telling the police immediately after this happened, or if this is months, years later, at no point did she feel the need to come back and speak to her closest friends and let them know that she's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
That doesn't seem right. Right. So
Because they can't be out of the water very long, but they can be out of the water.
Right. Right.
Well, and the monster can't be out of the water very long, but she is still the same, just now can also breathe underwater.
Right.
So she's not going to like dry out and stuff like the monster. Because I assume that's what's happening.
Unless she completely transforms and we don't get to see it.
Yeah.
But yeah. And this is the other reason I don't think that's real. Is I feel like if that was the case, she would have made this big transformation to be exactly like him. And that Giles keeps her as she is because that's how he remembers her. He can't visualize her being something else.
Yeah.
And so that's my interpretation of the ending. The interpretation of the ending that I would like is that she did get to go off and
well, yeah, we'd all
with
like
her
her
guy.
to not have died and everything, but I don't think that's the reality. Because also, even if like she didn't want to take the chance to even like go near their apartment or anything in case people were watching Giles, letters exist, and they did then.
Yeah.
right.
Like she could come out and write a letter and post it with very little effort.
Yep.
Well, and there's nothing indicated by Giles that he goes back to the location where they went in
Mhm.
to see if they did resurface later on, if she has come back looking to see him or anything like that. Which, once again, without the context of who he's telling the story to, when he's telling the story, there's no way we can know that. I think that's the power of this type of storytelling, is that you can have these like intellectual debates with yourself of what do you want to believe? What do you believe? Right? And it makes them very compelling in that there's so much evidence that could sway you one way or another. And you probably still wouldn't be wrong because we don't know.
And I don't like not knowing.
Yes, Liz, we know. We've
There's
met.
that. So we were talking about kind of like the theme of the movie right now. We're talking about the ending, but also kind of like the themes. That was actually one thing that I didn't like, is I felt like there were too many themes in this movie.
I do agree with you on that
Same.
one. I feel like they were trying to give us too many overlapping and overarching
Yeah.
themes. Like, not just in what is the theme of the storytelling, but also like, where is the story taking place? Like, it feels like it's in this nebula. I don't know if you guys felt this way, but especially the first sequence which they're going into work late at night.
Yeah, I was so confused by what was happening there.
Right. It just felt like this place that's almost in its own bubble. Like the rest of the world didn't exist. And like the restaurant felt out of time and out of place because we never see them going into the restaurant really. We
Right.
just see them at the restaurant. I don't know. Yeah. I would agree with all that.
I guess though, some of them I know were needed to further the story. Like the homophobia was needed to spur Giles into helping her.
Mm-hmm.
And the sexism, I guess, helps to alienate her more and make her kind of turn towards the creature. I don't know why we needed the whole Russian Cold War, or I guess we're not at the Cold War part, but like just Russian Red Scare stuff. I was like, why are we wasting time with this, like, the Russians storyline?
That, I mean, the only thing about that kind of made sense to me is that it's not just a distraction to us, it's a distraction to the characters as well.
Mhm.
The Michael Shannon character, the bad guy.
Richard Strickland, I believe.
That's the one.
Of course, his name was Dick.
He gets caught up in this whole Russian thing, and that's part of what allows them to get away multiple times.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that on their own, they're not a strong enough combatant for him and the power that he wields. And so I think that the reason the Russians had to be there was because they needed some kind of obstacle for him to have to get past that's independent of these three totally normal, simple people.
I just realized, so this would have actually been taking place in the 50s or 60s, because it was the reason that they wanted the merman is because of the space race. They wanted to learn how to make the ability so that they wouldn't have to breathe necessarily. Or
that
could
also
hold
makes
it
more
for a
sense
long
with the
time.
whole ad thing and the
Right.
photography thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because it just popped back into my brain that they had been talking about the Russians going to space and everything, and I was like, well, that would have been like late 50s, early 60s, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because we went to the moon in 1969.
We went to the moon in 1969, not 1968, but the year after. You're welcome.
Good job. I guess to me, it feels like you could have told the same exact story without that, though, because then the reason they get away isn't maybe because of the Russian distraction. It's because he's very easily overlooking two women, one of which is disabled, essentially, or differently abled. I'm sorry. So,
And the other's a woman of color.
exactly.
Mhm.
So you literally could have told the same story. The doctor, the Russian doctor that helped them, could have just been a man of science that didn't want the creature destroyed, which was what he was anyway.
Yeah.
So it just feels like it was entirely unnecessary.
Yeah, him not wanting the creature destroyed really didn't have anything to do with the fact that he was a Russian spy, essentially. It really was kind of just,
But science.
he's cool and science.
Because the Russians wanted to kill him too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think so. The reason, once again, that I don't hate this being in the movie the way it is. I get what you're saying. Like, you could have told the same story without it. The only difference is that a lot of, like, when you look at history, and you look at a lot of how people made narrow escapes or people
Mhm.
pulled off these amazing feats, a lot of it was because you had 5 other people who were just doing their own mundane thing, and they crossed the right way in the right time frame in order to make it happen. And that's what this character represents.
No, I get that if this was like a mini series and you had more time, but to have something that's like 2 hours and try to shove that in there, I feel like you're better off telling more of the main story than trying to add another layer.
Well, and this kind of comes back to the whole like too many themes thing.
Yeah.
It was very, very in line with movie and storytelling of the 1950s. And having those extra characters that come on and like go away and have served their purpose, but we'll never see them again, right? That's not something we do in our cinema as much now. And so I think that that's also part of it.
Yeah, I guess.
But
My
you
strugg-
don't like it.
No, well, my struggle with that is the reason we don't do it anymore because we collectively agree that maybe that, not that was bad to do it that way, but it didn't help to do it that way. And so like we've progressed to something better. So why are we doing it that way again?
Because Hollywood, especially, but the entertainment industry in general, really likes to go back to things and call it an homage. So that's why.
You're
Fair
not wrong.
I just like, I don't know. I think my problem is I wanted this story to be this movie to be one thing, which was to focus on how 2 individuals, our monster and our main character, can breach language barriers, culture barriers, species barriers, and find not even love, but just like commonalities. And that's, I mean, that happened, but that wasn't like the main theme. And so I think that's my whole thing. And the whole reason I'm picking apart some of this stuff is I just wanted a different movie. So I'm just going to put it out there.
You should have made a different movie.
I would argue as well that bridging the language barrier, the commonalities and everything, I would argue that Giles and the Creature did that more than she did.
And speaking of Giles, I was so surprised at his reaction to the beast, like not even lashing out, but just like behaving badly, if you will.
Behaving like a wild animal.
He killed his cat.
I fucking had
I know
the whole thing
I was
at that scene.
I was
that
like,
happened.
no, don't do it. Don't. And then he did it. He did eat the cat.
And then we saw it.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is unnecessary.
I almost
only
table
ate the
flipped
head.
at that point.
I know.
I would have been less mad if he ate the entire thing.
Yeah, if it just
Yeah, if
wasn't
it
there and there was
wasn't
like
just the
blood
head,
smear,
yeah.
I would have been like, okay, this is awful. But to see what we saw, I was like, you're
As
just doing this for the shock factor, and it's not nice.
Like, as 3 women who own cats, I almost table flipped. I was like, Liz and Wiggles are going to lose their shit because it's not okay.
No.
And it was a pretty cat, too.
How
Well,
many cats did he have, by the way?
A lot.
at
Yeah, a
least
lot.
3. Well, he turns to the one that comes out after the attack, and he's like, "You're very lucky." It's like, what?
Dark.
It just triggered my brain in what would my reaction be, and my reaction wouldn't have been like, oh well, he's a wild animal. My reaction would have been like, and now you die.
Yeah, I would have been like,
And now
"I'm
you
sorry, I'm
die.
gonna have to kill your monster boyfriend.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Fuck off."
Yep.
And he's just like, "No, he's a wild animal. You know."
He doesn't
That's
understand
what
what he's
wild
doing.
animals do. Which then once again goes back to then you're
Then why is she
fucking a
fucking
wild
him?
animal.
I know, yeah.
I will say, so we pointed out this is set in the 50s and 60s, but the like wardrobe and everything looks very much more 30s and 40s.
I think that probably is meant to portray, because that's why I got the time tripped up. But I think that's more to portray, especially with like Eliza and Zelda and Giles, is they are not wealthy people. So they are wearing
Okay.
old clothes.
Fair enough. Yeah, and I mean, Dickface McGee was buying like flashy Cadillacs and had nicer clothes and everything. It just, well, and in that time period, it's harder to guess, I guess, off of menswear because
Yeah.
they're suits.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with like, oh, the lapel is this wide, and so it means it's from this time period.
Yeah.
then-
Yeah. Well, and I guess we get a little bit of a clue that it must be the 50s. still. I think it still has to be late 50s.
I think it's late 50s.
Because of what his wife is wearing. It's like she has brand new clothes and those look very 50s. Yeah, that whole scene with him like getting his fucking bloody nubbos all over her face. No.
God, ew.
So,
Divorced.
Oh yeah. No.
oh God, yeah. But just to stop the guessing, it was set in 1962.
God damn.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
oh God, the bloody nubs on the face when he's fucking her.
And then when he
Silence
breaks
her.
them later and
just,
like rips
pulls
them
them
off
off
and
and,
drops them on Zelda's floor, I'm like, that's a power move to be sure. Cause I'm freaked out. But also the fuck, man.
The thing that got me is when he would start smelling it. If you know what like rotting flesh or like pus and infection smells like, I was like, oh, I can smell that. Oh, I can.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
nasty.
Oh God. Ugh.
Well, I knew they weren't gonna take as soon as they were like gray. I was like, that's dead. That's
That's mm-mm.
Yeah, it's not working, bud.
That's not how it works. But also, let's talk a little bit about that like moment with Zelda and Strickland and her fucking shitty husband.
Oh
Fucking-
God, he's such a nah.
She does spend all the movie leading up to that telling us how big a piece of shit her husband is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you sort of just assume it's the gag that my husband's kind of a
It's the
layabout
average
or
shit
whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And no, he's actually a flaming pile of shit. Oh my God. Like he was just like, no, I'm just going to stand here while you fucking abuse my wife. It's
Right.
fine. And then was like, she's not going to give up her friend, but I will. Bitch, just shut the fuck up.
You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Go away.
Yeah.
Oh, man. A lot of sexism in this movie.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it is set in the 60s.
Right. While we're talking about Strickland, I loved the scene that's in the beginning of the movie where they're cleaning the bathroom. And Zelda's like, the greatest minds in the country, and they still can't piss in the urinal. There's pee all over the floor. She doesn't sound like that, but first off, that's a real goddamn thing if you've ever had to clean men's bathrooms. Just fucking, you have a whole fucking thing.
How hard can it possibly be?
It's not. It really can't be that difficult.
I'm pretty sure I could pee in a urinal and make less mess than some of these
Right?
motherfucking guys.
yeah.
Right?
But when Strickland then walks in while they are cleaning and is like, don't worry, keep cleaning, and just pisses in the urinal right in front of them is a real thing because that has happened to me before. No, straight up, like as a bartender, we would have to go clean the men's bathrooms. And we literally had a rope to rope it off. And then we'd put like the mop bucket in the door. And these fucking guys would still be like, oh, gotta come in, move. And I'm like, oh, running out. And they're like, nah, it's all right. You can keep cleaning. And I'm like, you guys do realize that this is sexual harassment?
You
That
guys
you are
realize
doing right
that
now?
I don't want to stare at your penis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it happened multiple times. It wasn't just one dude. It was
Ugh.
many. That's the most trauma I ever had as a bartender, is trying to clean the fucking men's bathroom.
It always smells horrible too.
I just don't understand how they make it so fucking gross. We have to deal with, like, not to get too graphic, but we have to deal with things like pads and tampons and stuff like that. And we still don't make it anywhere even remotely close to as nasty as those guys will fucking make a bathroom. What are you doing in there?
Yeah. Oh God. Like, do you just like to see it wiggle? Like, what?
It just
I
can't
think
be
they
this
do.
difficult. It just can't be this difficult.
It can't. Well, and we know many functioning men that don't have this issue. I don't think Pappy pees all over the floor.
I certainly
No.
hope not.
No, cleaning the bathroom is a relatively easy affair in my house.
But, okay, here's the thing. If you are putting your hands on your hips and just, like, letting your thing-a-ling do the thing, then yeah, I'm sure you do make a fucking mess.
Why would you want that, though? Because then you might piss on yourself.
Apparently they don't give one shit.
Oh, my God. Oh, and then his fucking comment of, like, listen, you either wash your hands when you go in or you wash your hands when you come out. And that tells you a lot about a man. I wash my hands when I go in. And I'm like, so you just have piss hands? You walk around with fucking piss hands now?
Yes, a lot of them do. A lot of men don't wash their fucking hands. And I am disgusted. Never touch me. Never touch me. I will rip your goddamn hands off.
I am like constantly washing my hands. And then I also have hand sanitizer at my desk.
The only notes I have left are just random ones, like
All right.
nothing to really go off of. They're just like one random liners, like how did she peel the hard-boiled eggs so easy, and why can't I? That's what I got.
I don't fucking know, because movie.
I just like watched her and I was like, what did you do? How did it just in one? I don't get. Help me.
If anything took me out of being like, yes, this is romantic, it was the fact that he ate the eggs whole, like didn't take the shell off, right? And here's why this is a bad thing, right? All I could think of was Sheila from fucking Rescuers Down Under. The fucking lizard he's got. And she's like constantly going after the eggs. She's like,
Your brain makes really weird like connections.
they're both blue. They're both lizard-like, and they both like eggs. Where's the crazy connection? It's all perfect connection.
When was the last time you watched Rescuers Down Under?
My brain does not forget things, except for things that are useful and needed.
my goodness.
But yes, so I also did not like the egg situation, but for very different reasons.
Oh my goodness.
I will say one thing that Guillermo del Toro knocks out of the park every single time is aesthetic. The aesthetic was gorgeous. It worked really well. He always like uses visual to really set you in the place. And I think this is another example of him hitting the nail on the head for that.
Every time they were underwater, which was not actually that often, like when she floods the bathroom and when they're under the water at the end, that is gorgeous every single time.
Although I gotta say, I don't think you could flood a bathroom that way.
Oh, I don't
know.
think so either.
No, you
You
couldn't.
absolutely could not.
I don't think it would work that way.
It
The
wouldn't.
towel would have filled to its max and then it would have poured out underneath it immediately.
Right. I don't know. I also think that the the building manager was far too fucking calm about that situation. He just comes up like a little bit mad. He's like, you better tell her to get it together. And I'm like, bro, your fucking apartment's trashed.
Right.
Like,
Well, that was my other thought when the bathroom actually got completely filled. I was like, the walls and the floor and the window, because I think she had a window in there,
Yeah.
is not structurally sound to hold that much water.
Well, no,
No.
because like when you have to put a bathtub in, you have to add reinforcements underneath where the bathtub is because it's going to be filled with the water. That would be heavy as fuck.
Listen, if Star Trek has taught me nothing, Star Trek 4, when they had to bring the whales to the future, putting giant aquariums with a bunch of water in spaceships is hard.
I knew you'd get there eventually. Although I do think that that's further proof that this is Giles's like beautiful imagining of the event rather
yeah.
than like she was in that bathtub fucking. I think
Which-
that's the reality of what would have been happening, and he was
Yeah.
like, "I'm gonna turn this into something pretty."
Which every time they showed the bathwater that he sat in, I was like, ugh,
Yeah,
what is in it?
like
Toad spawn?
seaweed kind of things or something.
Know what it
I don't know,
was.
but like those look like they would get up there, like sand.
Yeah. Oh God. Ew. I think it would cause
For
an
both
infection.
of them, because what like are you gonna tell me that that's a vacuum sealed dick hider?
Flashlight?
What is that?
I think it actually is.
It probably would be if
Yeah.
he is an aquatic creature.
Yeah. And a lot of creatures actually have what is described in his situation, which is smooth like a Ken doll and then boop, dick.
Yeah. I'm just saying, there's potential problems for your lady business down there.
Oh yeah, no, definitely
yeah.
yeast infection at least.
Water fucking is not a good way to go, man.
It always sounds like a good idea, but it's just
Oh yeah, like it seems fun, but also here's my question. In water, all right. So when you be fucking,
Uh-huh.
you need something to push against.
Uh-huh.
yeah.
And how you do in water. Even if you're like, okay, we're up against the wall, it's like, okay, but water reduces your ability for thrusting with force.
Yeah.
So
Maybe you just got like a jackhammer peen.
Maybe
going
you're
on
just
in there.
like
It just like bounces off of your body. It goes.
it just like goes in and out.
Horrifying.
Well, this is how I feel every time we read these monster romances. Welcome to the party.
Oh Lord, it's only going to go downhill from here
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
as you get exposed to more and more of these situations.
You know, I feel like my brain is changing. Not necessarily for the better.
You could just do what I think a lot of people do and ignore the logistics of things.
You know I can't do that.
No, I can't do it either.
No, I have to know how it works.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to get through the story. And then once I find out, I'm unhappy that I know.
My favorite is there are books where the penis is not, where it like opens and then you have like
a little bloom comes through the tip.
There's like, yeah, there's like a penis and then the penis opens like a flower. And that I don't understand how it works.
It's so
I feel like
it's
it
like
would
one of those
eat my
exploding
vagina.
screws that you put into the wall and then it like latches onto the fucking wall.
I suppose.
I hate it.
That
How do you get it back out?
I don't know.
that
Now
visual,
it's like locked into your vajay.
Well,
Not even your vajay. It's like all the way up in your uterus because it's always all the way up to your fucking cervix.
And it's like, it kisses my cervix.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if anything touches my cervix, you die.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
As
Yeah.
it turns out, I'm not a huge fan.
I just the visual of that hurt me deeply.
Which, the flower penis?
Yes.
Well,
This is okay.
I've seen drawings.
this is
so
how I'm picturing it.
Imagine that.
You know the
What are
ladders
you
the
reading?
orcs use in Two Towers? They get up there and then it goes dunk, and they're latched onto the fucking side of the wall. I'm picturing that only in a circle. And it's latched in. And now you can't pull it back out. Now what are you going to do? You're trapped not just with that man in your bed, but with his dick in your cooch.
I mean, it's
That's
the
not
battle for
sanitary.
balls deep.
I mean, until the siege is over, yeah.
God damn. If you got to cut the head off of one end to get through the experience, that's not great. All I'm saying
Oh
is I feel like the Aragorn and team of my cooch would be fighting an endless battle, just dying and waiting for Gandalf to show up and relieve us. And I don't know what magical powers Gandalf is going to have to get this circle latched fucking dog out of me.
It's all of the white horseman wigs,
Yeah.
and then it's done.
Yeah. Yeah. This is what I'm saying, Liz. It's a problem. I can't wait 3 days and look to the east. Okay? I can't.
You just gotta keep going till the sun rises.
It's the sun rising in the east on the third day.
Can't do it. It's too long.
Oh my god. We're never going to be able to watch Lord of the Rings again.
Oh, I'm going to, and then I'm going to explain it to Pappy after watching it.
This is why my mother does not listen.
Oh. Anywho.
What are you talking about? This is funny as fuck.
Oh.
Okay.
Boy. All right.
On that
What
note,
was your second note that you had?
Oh shit. Let's go. Right now.
'Cause
This all
you
started
said-
with hard-boiled eggs,
It
huh?
really did.
It really
you
did.
said it. You had just had a couple of random notes that couldn't go anywhere. Guess what, bitch?
Okay, that one went somewhere. The next one was that key lime pie that they had. That looked disgusting, and
It
like I
looked
know it was
radioactive.
disgusting, but like props to the prop designer because they made
Yeah.
it look disgusting.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I honestly, my heart went out to Giles. I was like, "You've been eating this shit pie for that guy? No, you deserve better. That guy is skis."
And here's the thing: I love key lime pie.
Well, key lime pie is not actually supposed to look green. It might look faintly green.
Yeah,
but-
no, it's not violently green.
And that was like lime jello green.
Yeah. It looked quite awful. Yeah.
And I like pie. I'm
I
like
love
Dean
pie.
Winchester. I love me some pie.
Yeah.
I'm not a big pie person.
I would take pie over cake every day of the week.
Uh-huh.
Every
Yes,
day of the
please.
week. In fact, I would love some pie right now. Let's eat pie.
You got some?
No.
Well, shit.
Is that it? Is that what the note we're ending on is pie?
Do I have anything else in here that would be interesting? No, we did it all. We did it all. Eggs and pie, y'all. Eggs and pie.
All right. How would you rate this movie on a scale of cherry pie to neon green key lime pie?
Apple?
Apple?
With cheese?
Apple with cheese. Oh my.
Oh, gross. Disgusting. Now,
A lot of people like
nyeh.
it that
A
way.
lot of people like it.
Unless we're talking like a brie. Fuck off. Don't you put cheddar cheese on my apple pie.
I could do like a white cheddar, but like a slice of American. No, thank you.
Okay, so we're saying that this movie is a slice of apple pie with cheese on top.
What does that mean?
I don't know. That's
You
for
told me to choose, but on
That's
a
for the
scale of
audience to
cherry
decide.
Gross lime looking.
if on a
Okay, let's actually use numbers.
okay, but I'm just saying this is the scale we're gonna measure movies on from now on. What kind of pie are you? Don't think I'll forget because I won't, and you know this.
Why you like this? Why you like this? This is like a coconut cream pie for me.
I would call it like a lemon meringue where they don't have enough meringue on top, but still pretty good.
I hate coconut, but it's not radioactive, so it's above that for me.
Nice.
Okay, but actual numbers, I think I'd do like a 2.5.
I was gonna
On
go
what
3.
scale?
On the normal scale, on the real scale. You said the movie, so I'm doing the overall. Did you want to do the other shit first?
Well,
You're the one who fucking took this off into like God knows where land.
Listen, don't come at me with your flower penis.
Hey, you let some good content, so.
All right, let's do overall. Let's jump. Let's go overall. 2.5 from Liz.
Yeah.
Danny.
3.
Okay. I would give it a 3.5. Maybe a 4. 3.5. I'm going to sit with that.
I was confused a lot, so that's why I go 3.
I would get into it and then something would happen that would take me out of it was my problem.
My biggest issue with it was that the pacing felt
Yeah.
kind of odd. Like I would get into it and I'd feel like it's going one direction and then it would kind of veer in another direction and would slow down and it just kind of felt all over the
Yeah.
place that way.
So circling back to the other parts, what about your spice?
I mean, it's spicier than a lot of movies.
Yeah?
Right? Because movies cannot be judged the same way books are.
Right.
That doesn't work.
But we don't really get to really sit in
No.
any of the spicy
Yeah.
moments.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna call it like a 3.5.
I was just going to go with a 3.
I was going to go with a 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough.
I mean, I realize we see boobies and full bush, but
Just seeing somebody naked does not equal spice.
no.
No, it does not. And we never get to see them kiss until the very, very end.
Right.
And I want an explanation of how that works. Is there lips? Is she sticking her tongue in his mouth? Are they just pressing faces together? What is that? And
Well, I mean,
we'll never get to know.
that's generally how kissing works is you press your faces
Yeah, but
together.
there's lips, right?
He had lips. Not
he?
like full on like human lips, but there was a lip shape going on there.
Sure.
Trust me, I looked for that exact reason. I was like, what that mouth do?
Oh my god.
What about your romance?
It was fine.
I just could never really figure out if there was romance.
Yeah.
Or if it was all in her head.
Right.
Or,
Or,
like,
is
so
it
for-
all in Giles's head?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say 2.5. I couldn't. You couldn't convince me that he really knew what was going on enough
Right?
to really be romance. You know what I mean?
And that's also kind of gave me a little bit of an ick factor to some of the potential sex, or at least
Yeah.
Giles's imagined sex.
Mm-hmm.
So I would agree with a 2.5, I think.
Which, once again, this kind of feels like it goes into Giles's
Yeah.
pretty-fied version of it, because you never ever see anything happen. You just see them embrace.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna go 3.
That's fair.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
That's fair. It's kind of like you have to decide. I believe it was romantic. Like not me, but I'm like, if you were deciding that, if you were deciding to be a Giles,
Mhm.
then it's like, oh my gosh, it's probably like a 4 or something.
Right.
If you're deciding to be a Liz who's like skeptical and cranky.
Right. Right.
Which apparently Danny's right with you today, which is not normally our thing.
What do you do?
You
Okay.
fuck a monster in the bathtub. That's what you do. So, Liz, lead us out.
We got to do our recommendations. What do you guys recommend?
Shit. I forgot about that part.
Okay, so mine is completely out of right field.
You say that all the time and then it's not. So as Wiggles has said before, I don't believe you.
Yeah, but this is such a weird movie that like and I only because of like the older feeling ish thing, I say Captain America. Go for it.
Makes sense.
I actually can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it seems really out there, but like if it's just how I feel not necessarily watching that, I don't know how to describe that. I just get the same like feeling with the time period and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they are not the same time periods.
No, but I think we're getting so far away from like the 30s, 40s, 50s, and now even 60s that they start to just kind of bunch up into one, especially like the 40s, 50s, and like early 60s.
Yeah.
Unless it's like hippie 60s, Wiggles, do you have anything?
I do. So my recommendation is going to be For the Wolf by Hannah Witten. I don't think I've recommended this before, but if I have, eat me. The premise is this girl. It's a kind of a retelling and a mashing together of Beauty and the Beast and Little Red Riding Hood, right?
Sure.
And so in this kingdom, the firstborn girl is to be the ruler of the kingdom, and the secondborn is for the wolf, and that means that she has to go out into these woods that have all kinds of monsters, and the woods themselves are kind of scary, to be whatever the wolf demands, because they don't know what the wolf is demanding. They just know they have to sacrifice the ruling family's second-born daughter every time a second-born daughter is born. And from there, she meets the wolf, and he's not what he seems, but he is also not... He's a lot of things. Anyway, so it's very in line with that whole like Beauty and the Beast kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a mystery. There's trying to figure out where people's loyalties lie, all kinds of things. So yeah, it's a quick, easy read. It flows really nicely and it's mostly fun. Like you want to get to the end and find out what's happening.
So I'm going to recommend something that I haven't read, which is a big no-no, but life goes on because we have collectively read this author before and enjoyed her. So I will recommend Found by the Lake Monster by Lillian Lark.
Oh,
So
I have not read that one.
I haven't read it either, but I think I actually have it ordered and it's coming in the mail at some point. Sometimes you order things online and then you forget, especially if there's a long period of time before they come.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
So-
do really enjoy Lillian Lark. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why I made you guys read the Gargoyles book.
Right. And normally I would never recommend something I haven't read, but because I've read at least 3 of her books, Deceived by the Gargoyles, Entranced by the Basilisk, and
Stalked by the Kraken.
Stalked by the Kraken. There we go. I feel confident in recommending another monster romance of hers. So
It also feels like, in that same vein, I haven't read this, so I don't know what it's like, but it does feel pertinent to mention that this is also a book now written by Guillermo del Toro.
Yes.
So if you want more information about this movie, that would be a great place to start.
I think the book has some more details about the monster, if I remember correctly. Or
That's
some-
my understanding. Yeah.
So honestly, for me, considering I thought there was like a lack of detail around the monster, that might be something I need to pick up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Sweet.
Cool beans.
All right, everyone. If you liked this episode, please find us out on the socials at Wrong Dust Jackets or just Wrong Jackets on X, or you can go to our website at wrongdustjackets.com. Please leave us a comment on anything, rate, review, all that jazz. Let us know if you liked it, if you didn't like it, and if you have any recommendations for us, if you'd like us to check anything out and do an episode about it. We'd love to hear from you. All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye now.
Goodbye.
Bye.